What's going on, guys? This is Sean Item, and this is another episode of Fatherhood Friday. Fatherhood Friday is a segment we do every single Friday where we educate, encourage, and empower fathers. I'm a father myself. I have two baby girls by the name of Zendaya and Nova, and they are the inspiration behind this show. So welcome to Fatherhood Friday, where we celebrate fatherhood. What's going on, guys? This is another episode of Fatherhood Friday, and I got my boy, Chris Senegal, on here with me today. A childhood friend that's doing amazing things, and Chris, it's an honor to have you on, man. What's going on with you, brother?
Nothing much, brother. Long time, no talk, no see.
Yeah, right?
Here, man. Yeah.
I see you every day, man. Yeah. It's good to see you, man. Welcome to Fatherhood Friday. I know you. I grew up with you, but introduce yourself to my viewers, brother.
Yeah, okay. I'm Christopher Senegal, of course, from Lake Charles, Louisiana. Typical rambunctious kid. I was like the class clown and the straight A student at the same time. So did that. Teenage father. Had my son when I was barely 16. Yeah,
we're gonna talk about it.
Yeah, he's in college now on full academic scholarship. So I did all right.
Awesome. You did all right. You did more than all right, man.
Yeah.
So
I went to school for civil engineering and graduated. Didn't really like the corporate job, so focused on real estate investing. So I worked the corporate job and did real estate investing for about 6 or 7 years, and then I was able to walk away from the job in 2015. So full-time entrepreneur. I took my corporate experience and I do consulting work in the same arena around railroad business development. But my bread and butter right now is real estate investing and development. So
awesome, man. Awesome. So if I heard you correctly, so let's just kind of deal with the career and business side of stuff first, and we definitely gonna get into that fatherhood segment. So you went to college. What college did you go to?
Southern University, the
Southern University. Awesome, man. What was that experience like?
Man, it was an amazing experience, bro. Coming from Lake Charles, where the mix of students is a lot. It's predominantly not our race at the high school we went to, and to go to an HBCU and to see so much of Black excellence versus what they tell us we are on TV and what they depict us as. It was amazing to see so many like minds on the same wavelength.
Awesome.
all ambitious, So it was, man, priceless experience.
Awesome. So what did you study when you were in college, man?
Funny story. So I was always good at math. You remember me and Clarissa, we were like in the gifted program.
Gifted.
Yeah. And man, I didn't know what I wanted to school for, but there was a full scholarship for a civil engineer. And so, everybody tells you to be a doctor, lawyer, engineer. So I'm like, okay. The other two take a lot longer. This one takes 4 years. I'll take this free engineering degree. So I went to school for civil engineering. That's what my degree's in.
Your intent was to kind of just go up the corporate ladder, or what did you see yourself?
Yeah. And you know what? And I tell a lot of people this: like, if you are programmed to be an entrepreneur, and you get caught in the cycle of corporate America, it really can slow you down, because I got caught in that cycle because you're so ambitious and you feel like, you hear the stories of the people that don't get the promotions and all this and that. But in your head, you're like, that's not me. I got the skill set. I got this. It's not me. It's not me. And it takes about 5 or 6 years of really seeing how that corporate machine works, and that it's not really about how well you perform. It's not really about, what your numbers are. Or how well you get along with people. They already pick their favorites. It takes you a while to realize that. So you spend so much time in that hamster wheel that, you waste time. Whereas if you'd realized it early on, you could be on to something else, like doing your own thing, building your own empire. So, man. So, but I knew I didn't want to be an engineer. I knew that I really didn't like that corporate lifestyle, but I was just spending time figuring out how to get out of it. And by the time I got into the sales job, it was cool because I was working from home, and I was in the office maybe 1 or 2 days a week, and I was making like just a little over 6 figures, like 105 or something a year. So it was good money, and I'm working from home, office 2 days a week. So it became comfortable to me. and I was doing the real estate on the side. But then that one incident happened where a VP that I was communicating with about my project, one of the projects I had I was having challenges with, threw me under the bus because the CEO asked about the same project. And and at that point, it made me realize it's like, no matter how well you perform, no matter how well you communicate, somebody else above you can make a decision that can really affect your entire life.
Yeah.
And either whether it's out of malice or ignorance, or they're trying to protect themselves. And it's just like, man, like I don't want to live like that. Like I'm already working. I know how to create my own income with this real estate. So I'm like, it's time for me to go full fledged and work for myself.
Okay. So how did the real estate situation come about at all? Like, were you always just interested in that, or just something that you read up on? Like, how did you get involved with real estate?
So it was kind of happened from two different angles. The first angle was the first year out of college working. I just knew I didn't like it, so I was trying to figure out what I could do. And first,
immediately you wasn't feeling the job.
This is what happened, man. So I got out of school, and it's like the position that I got. The guy that I used to intern with when I was in college, he bragged about this big project that was going to be in Memphis, Tennessee, and it was $100 million project, and he was the top pick to be over the project or the assistant on the project. And I heard about this for like 2 or 3 years. Yeah. And when I graduated, they told me that they were giving me that position.
Yeah.
So I'm assistant project manager of a $100 million project at the age of 23. And my boss is like 33. So she's 10 years older than me. And she's the prodigy. Like they have her all over all the corporate brochures and stuff. And they're talking about diversity and she's miserable. Like working like 12, 13 hours a day. And I'm like, wait a minute. I've been sold a dream. I'm like, I can't do this forever. So immediately I was like, no, I gotta exit stage left. I gotta figure out a plan B. So for me.
So what was your first real estate deal like? What was it a single family home?
So it all ties in. So I told you I bought a house when I graduated. And when I quit that job in Memphis and I moved back to Texas, I couldn't sell my house. The one in Memphis. So for the first 6 months I was in training here in Texas. And I was paying the mortgage on a house in Memphis. I was trying to get it sold, but I had bought in 2006, right before the recession, right?
Yeah.
So I bought at the top of the market, so the house value went down, so I couldn't sell it. And so I ended up having to hire a property manager to manage it for me. And the property, so my mortgage payment was like $1,200.
Okay. Explain the property manager, because like my audience is not all savvy as far as real estate. Okay, so a property manager is you're trying to rent out a building, rent out a property, and they're going to manage the property for you. Okay, deal with the tenants, deal with everything, so that my man Chris can go live his life and pretty much just collect the check. That ideally, that's how it's supposed to happen.
No, that's exactly what they do, and they charge you a percentage of the rent every month to basically manage the headache of dealing with the tenant on your behalf.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
Yeah. Correct. So the property manager, they found a tenant. They put the tenant in the property, and the tenant's rent was like $1,550 because that was the market rent. Mm-hmm. My mortgage payment was only $1,200. Okay. So, it didn't really click for me for about a month or two. But then I realized it's like, damn, like I'm not doing anything. I'm doing nothing at all. Somebody else was managing this for me, and I'm making $350 a month off of this. I'm like, that's like a week and a half working a minimum wage job.
It is.
And so like the take home, you make your check, you may earn $500, but take home $350. Yeah. So then I was like, wow, so I need to be focused on this, because I realized that there's ways where you can think about things and make a decision and put your money in the right place, and then income comes without you having to work for it.
I like it.
So that's how I got into it.
That was a single family home?
Single family home.
Okay. Yeah. You still own that property, or you got rid of it?
Man, you know what? I just sold it last summer, literally.
Hey!
Just sold it last summer.
To 2018?
12 years. Yes.
Oh man, that's wild, man. That's wild.
Yes,
Okay, so
it's
that's like
crazy.
that's the start of the real estate. So did you keep
Right.
on doing the real estate, or was it some
Yeah, yeah,
pauses,
yeah.
and what was that like?
Yeah, no, I kept going, and I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and that book really changed my perception on a lot of things.
Okay, Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki.
Right.
It's a classic. It's every
Yeah,
self-help list in the
yeah,
world
yeah.
gonna have it as far as one of the books that you should kind of start reading to get your mind right.
It's the top of the list. And
Yeah.
for everybody that's watching, the basic moral of the book is his dad has several advanced degrees. His dad works at universities. He works for the state on like the board of education. But every time he gets a new job and he gets a promotion, his lifestyle increases to match that.
Mm-hmm.
And his best friend's dad, his neighbor, his dad has an 8th grade education, starts off as a laborer, but builds a construction company. And
Mm-hmm.
some summers, he and his best friend work for his dad in the construction company. And his best friend's dad teaches him lessons like he'll give them crazy things to do and tell them what their pay is gonna be, and they'll do it and they'll be miserable, and their dad will ask them afterwards, so why'd you do it? Like, why is that money so much important? Why is that so important to you?
Mm-hmm.
And it makes them think about, dang, was it really worth it? And basically the end of the book, his dad leaves him with nothing. The best friend's dad with the 8th grade education leaves his son a multi-million-dollar construction company.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes you think. It's like we put so much emphasis on degrees and all this other kind of stuff, which can get you places. But if you understand the world of entrepreneurship and business, you can leave a legacy for your family as well.
Awesome.
And so that's really that's what sealed the deal for me. After that, I was like, okay, yeah, this real estate is really what I want to do.
That's so funny. You like segue straight into my next question, which is, you excelled. Like, this dude didn't like do kind of good in high school. Boy was like, brother, like you were saying, like, wasn't many of us, and academically, I would say if he wasn't the best, like I don't remember a dude academically doing better than Chris when we were in high school. So very, 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 very bright guy. Then you go to college, do the 4-year thing, and you feel it there. You graduate with a degree from a very prestigious, great school. Yeah. What is your thoughts on the American education system? Like, after going through it, like, not what somebody else said, not what you read in a book, like what is your truth about the system, and where is it at in your opinion?
That's a great question. So what I do know about the American education system is that it has not changed since the turn of the last century. And in the 1800s, there was no public school system. Every little community was responsible for the private schools, and there was a teacher that taught everything from kindergarten to 12th grade. Well, during the Industrial Revolution, these corporations realized there were not enough people that were educated enough in the things that needed them to be educated on to work in their factories.
Correct.
So that's when the formal education system was set up. It was funded by these corporations, and it started going through tax dollars, and it became the structure that it is now. The curriculum was picked by these corporations. Till this day, the curriculums are the same in the United States. So you are only trained to be an employee. You're only trained to work for someone else. Even if you get an advanced degree in business, you're getting a business management. That's not a business startup degree. You're being trained to specifically run a department in a business with your MBA.
Yes.
You still know how to go out. You don't know how to go raise capital. You don't know how to talk to investors. You don't know how to do any of that.
Yeah.
And so our whole system is really focused on preparing you to work in someone else's business.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that. I mean, and when I first became an entrepreneur full time, I used to look down on people that were working for other people. Yeah. There's a different sense. There's a different sense of stability you can get from that. And if you're not that ambitious, or you don't like taking risks, there's nothing wrong with that.
For sure.
But for the entrepreneur, it can be a deficit.
You can. It can.
Yeah.
Interesting, man.
Yeah.
And I wanted to get your take out. So that was one. It was funny that you were kind of hitting on that because I was like, this is something I gotta ask Chris. You know, like I'm almost done with college, but you know, like I'm a college dropout at this point.
Yeah.
You know, so I think I have a fair assessment sometimes. You know, when I say it, it might sound like one thing, but when you have a guy that kind of drunk the Kool-Aid, so to speak, killed it, really excelled within that system. As they get that different mind frame, I think it's just a different perspective that we can, you know, gain from, you know, what you're talking about in your experiences.
Man, the shocker for me was when I decided I was really trying to get into this real estate thing, and I was trying to find mentors. And all of the mentors that I met that were multimillionaires in their early 30s did not go to college.
Wow.
They started at 18 learning how to build a business, learning how to learn a trade or something. And by the time they're in their 30s, they're millionaires.
Wow. That's deep. Woo!
Yeah.
That's a jewel. That's a jewel. Yeah, man. So that's awesome. And we're going to talk about your real estate a little bit more, man, in your career and some of the things that you've been able to achieve thus far. But it is Fatherhood Friday. So let's talk about Daddy, man. Chris has a very interesting story. He has a son by the name of Cameron, right?
Cameron,
okay. And he's an adult now. He's on his he's kind of on his own per se. He's in college. Just turned 20. You know, grown man. You know, tall as Chris, everything. You know, but
taller than me.
Taller than
that ain't saying much though. Chris, you can't probably see right now. Man, Chris ain't too tall, man. He's always in books. He's trying to balance it out. There you go. There you
go. So, but Chris was a teenage father, man. Like when we were in high school, I used to always see this dude. I'm like, man, bruh be working. He used to work at Taco Bell. With one of like almost a family member of mine named Denny used to work up there with Donnie
both of them. Both of them,
right?
So
they were a little older than us, but Chris would be working like these shifts to like 2 o'clock in the morning. And I never knew. I didn't even really know about your son, I think, until like we graduated or whatever, you know? Like,
oh, really? Dang, okay.
Yeah, I think maybe my sister might have told me or whatever. But I just remember him grinding. Like, it's crazy. And then to come and find out the reason why he's holding a job and he ain't playing and he's super serious about, was serious about the books. We was doing athletics. He was serious about it. He was, that sense of maturity almost came, you had to be a lot more mature. A lot. So what age did you have your son?
So when his mom got pregnant, I was 15. And I turned 16 in October 7th, and he was born December 5th. So I was 16 and 2 months when he was born. Yeah. Woo. Barely 16. Yeah.
Okay. And you and his mom, y'all were dating, y'all were high school sweethearts,
it's crazy. We were middle school sweethearts. And dating freshman year of college. I mean, high school, and she got pregnant somewhere after freshman year.
My God.
Yeah, man.
How did you? I know you're a grown man, but just take me back, to talking to your parents about that, man. Like, how did your mom and dad?
Man, I didn't even tell them.
Oh, you didn't tell them?
I didn't tell them. My her mom told the pastor of the church I went to. Okay. And he told my parents. And I denied it for a long time. I just didn't know. I mean, it was like unreal, man. It was like, you know.
Oh yeah.
You go from being like just a typical kid to like, wait a minute. You got a whole bunch of responsibility coming. Yeah. And it's like a big disappointment to my parents too, because like I was like the good kid, you know what I mean? I was a straight A student, all this kind of stuff. The athlete, the first chair in the band. I was like doing all kind of great stuff, you know.
Yeah, I forgot you was in the band too.
Trumpet, playing trumpet,
So after the initial shock of things, what was your support system? I mean, like what was?
I did have a good support system. I can't lie about that. My mom was very supportive. My son's family was very supportive, so they were all there. But, that didn't negate the financial responsibility that I had.
You had to do what you had to do. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, so being 16, everybody's going to the football games, hanging out, I'm at work, You know.
Yeah, Taco Bell drive through, baby.
Yeah, exactly.
Killing it. Baja Blast.
Exactly. Everybody's coming up there telling me how good the game was. You know what's going on while I'm working till 2 in the morning. But no, literally, I was working during the week, bro. I mean, like, because Taco Bell closed at 2 a.m. during the weekend, 4 a.m. on the weekend. So I would work a lot of nights. I would go to school all day, go home, change clothes, go to work. You know.
Now, was school something that was easy for you? I mean, like, how were you working them type of hours at that age and still being able to keep up that GPA?
Yeah, it wasn't easy. Because I think if I took regular classes, but I was in all those AP classes.
Yeah,
you know?
you was.
So the AP classes were still hard. So it was like a lot of studying. I mean, I did have a natural ability in a lot of subjects. The ones that I didn't do well in were the ones with a lot of memorization, like biology.
Got it.
I was okay with history, but anything with math or science, I was good at. You know, so I didn't have to study a whole lot for that. Yeah.
Okay.
But
okay.
Yeah, man. So yeah, it was definitely. It taught me. I had to grow up really quickly. I had to be responsible really quickly.
Yeah.
And that's probably part of the reason why I became so entrepreneurial too. It's because even after school, like I was the only sibling to even graduate high school. You know,
wow.
My little sister. You know, I don't remember my little sister, but she ended up dropping out. And but she went back and got a GED, and she's doing well now. But my older siblings, they didn't go to college. My older brother was in prison by the time he was 16. So I'm the only one to graduate high school and go to college. So I was like, man, I'm the only one that's going to be in a position to take care of my parents when they get old.
Yeah,
It's like, you know, so I'm thinking about I'm being responsible now. I know I have to be responsible later in life. I didn't feel like working a corporate job was going to put me in a financial position to be stable and be stress-free at that point in time, you know.
Powerful.
Yeah.
So what was like? So I know you're working. You're trying to make good grades. Like, what is the thing that, as a teenager, you felt like you missed out on? Like for sure. I mean, the football game. Did you miss out on it? You went to prom and stuff, right? I remember seeing some functions.
I went to prom.
Okay.
I went to prom.
Like, do you feel like there was some things?
I think the sense of only being focused on yourself and just enjoying the experience is what I missed out on, because having that level of responsibility that early, you have to remove your personal conveniences and your personal preferences out of the situation, because you're responsible for another life, you know, and raising him in an environment where he's comfortable and where he can see that even though you're young, that you are setting a good example for him, you know. So
for sure.
Yeah, because I mean, so many teenage dads just gave up on the responsibility, you know, and it's like, you got two options. You can use it as an excuse, or you can use it as motivation, you know.
And what was that thing that held you to not running from that responsibility?
I think it's just inbred in me, man. I mean, I think it's a character trait. You know, some people, some people don't have it, some people do. You know, and it's just, for me, I don't give up. I don't quit. I don't run from responsibility or obligation. So you know.
So the whole time, so you go to high school, then you go to Baton Rouge and go to Southern. He with you at the time?
He didn't come to Baton Rouge with me, no, but he actually lived with my mom, because I like the environment and staying with my mom more than his mom, because his mom's situation wasn't that stable.
Okay. And where's your mom? Where's your mom at? Where did he grow up?
Port Arthur, Texas.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
So that was
you're not from Beaumont. You're from Port Arthur.
Port Arthur. So half and half. So I was born in Lake Charles. I was there until second grade. I went to St. John Elementary, and then in second grade I moved with my mom when she moved to Port Arthur. So I was in Port Arthur.
Port Arthur, the home of UGK. Yeah, that's what I think of every time somebody say Port Arthur. I ain't never been. It drove through.
You know what? Yeah, but you know what? Janis Joplin's from Port Arthur.
Okay.
Jimmy Johnson used to be the Cowboys coach. He's from Port Arthur. Steve Jackson, Sean Derrick Charles.
Oh, Steve Jackson?
Yeah, we got a lot of people. It's a small town, bro. But it's a lot of talent that comes out of that small town.
That's dope, man. So you raise your son. And he's like, basically like a spitting image of you, man. He kills it academically,
Man,
doing his
yeah,
thing.
yeah,
Like, what
yeah,
do you, like, how do you guys navigate, like, just being so young and, like, man, you didn't really miss a beat, man. Like, I really commend you guys. Like, I'm 35,
yeah,
about to be 36. I got babies, and
yeah.
I'm like, man, like, it's tough, man. Like, so for you
Bro,
guys to do such a well job, like, what do you think? What do you attribute to that? I mean, I know he just seems like he's a good kid in his own, and God just put certain things in him. But like, what
yeah.
type of environment did you guys really put around him to kind of cultivate him into the young man that he is today?
I think a lot of responsibility. It's always chores. It's always being respectable, being mannerable.
Yeah.
We emphasize that a lot. And then giving him the freedom to do what he wanted to do and not try to force him to be an athlete or force him to do anything. So, I mean, he
Awesome.
was good at a lot of things, man. But he just floated around. I mean, he was like me in the band, first chair trumpet, in the band. Then he was like student council president. Then he decided he wanted to run track. He was like, he ran the 400. He was like district champ in the 400. Then he played football for a year and broke his arm in 2 places in the first season. He decided he didn't want to do that. So, he's done a lot of things, and it's just like giving him the freedom to make decisions on his own and experience a little bit of everything. I think that kind of rounded him out really well.
That's dope.
Yeah, man. And like I said, but part of it is just the personality of the kid, And he really did have. I know we hit the character lottery with him. I guess I don't know.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. So as far as with your son, when you went through a lot raising him, he turned out to be an incredible young man and still developing, still learning. I'm watching him like a big cousin, big uncle on Facebook. Like I remember all these things that you're talking about, like seeing them on social media, man. So it's definitely cool. How do you tie in, your legacy, what you're building with, your son? And do you aspire for him to be a part of this? Do you aspire to just leave him something? Like, with me, I'm really into legacy businesses. Like I'm not creating my business to sell it. No, nothing like that. So there's really not a price point that I could see that I would be handing it off to somebody else. I really want this to be something that is always a vehicle for my family to be financially stable, to be a pillar in the community, those type of things. So as I say that, where do you see because we about to talk about it, but you're doing some incredible things, man. Like how does it tie back into fatherhood and what you hope your family and your child kind of gains from the work that you're laying down?
Yeah, man. So I guess it's kind of twofold on that one, because as much as I would love for him to say, yeah, Dad, I want to take over everything you're doing, that may not happen,
For sure.
And I've seen a lot of kids that come from very successful families that kind of want to carve out their own path through their own thing.
For sure.
And being in real estate, I also see a lot of situations where the parents have built these empires and they leave all of this real estate to the kids, and the kids have been spoon fed, and they're very complacent and spoiled. And then the second they inherit all this stuff, they don't take care of it, and it ends up getting lost. So it's like, there's a balance there. And for him, I just want him to be I want him to have the opportunity to, if he wants to pursue following in my footsteps, that's cool. That's great. He's going to school right now for finance, which is a great field to get a degree in. And he's doing a 5-year entrepreneurship program though. So you go to school 4 years in college of business, and the 5th year you go through an entrepreneurship program where it's taught by all former alumni of University of Houston. That's the school he's at. And they're all CEOs or they're business owners. So it's pretty cool. So yeah, I just want to give him all the opportunity in the world, because like I said, the entrepreneurship life isn't really for everybody. But however, if I can build it up big enough to where he's inheriting the company that he does not have to run, then that's amazing,
Yes. And I guess that's more of the take that Because if I hear you in the beginning, it's, you know, the corporate world, I went into it and I asked this question to a lot of entrepreneurs, and I get what you're saying, right?
Yeah.
But to me, if we would agree that like many of the things that you experienced in the corporate world are the fuel to why you're doing what you're doing now.
Exactly.
What responsibility do we have to the next generation to create a platform that they maybe can, I'm not saying skip, but you know, like just be on another level when we talk about
I agree.
have to maybe go through some of those things. You know, when I hear a lot of your messaging, it's around like, you know, the system is broken, so we're trying to change the narrative. What does it look like to be able to change that narrative, not just for everybody and all of our family and culturally, but like what does it look like for you and your family, and what would you hope? Financing to me, I'll give you an example. I was just talking to, I told you I did an interview with Sydney, and he kind of said the same thing. And I had one of my clients, and they were going to school, and he was dating this young lady, and their family was, I think they had farms, they had something. And she was like, you know, he was going to go to school, and after that, he was going to try to go find him a job where whoever was the highest bidder, that's where he would be working for. She was adamant, like it was already a known thing that I am taking my talent back to better the situation for my family. All this marketing degree, I'm plug and playing. So, like, is that a mind frame? Like, you know, like I definitely hear about people kind of ruining the family business. But is it also, you know, like I think sometimes we get so free, so I want my kids to just, you know, be happy that maybe there's a greater thing at so if you build this business for one generation, like would that be a success for you, or do you hope that it is something that's carried on, whether it be your children, somebody's children? Like how far do you think this thing could go?
It could go far. It definitely could be generational. But that doesn't mean that they have to work in the business. So, for instance,
correct. I agree. But I think when we say that, if you want the children to pass it on and to benefit from it, I don't think it always has to be them working in the business. I want to put in 80 hours, and hopefully they're able to walk through a vehicle that they can run, be a part of, be the face of. Where, but man, like, you know, if I was honest to God, the truth, man, I would not want to see a board that wouldn't have one of our faces on it, one of the items somewhere along in there.
No, I agree with that. But also at the same time, if your daughter wants to not run the business, but she wants to own a law firm, she wants to do something like that, you put her in a position to do that also, you know. So and the business that you have can fuel her. It can be her startup capital, you know, to do whatever she wants to do too. And then, like I said, you can hire a CEO to run your company at that point in time, and she can still benefit from being the owner of the company. So that's kind of my mindset with him, because the first thing he told me he wanted to do, this was crazy. Number one, he did two things when I made him read Rich Dad Poor Dad when he was 12, because I wanted him to be exposed to things that I had no idea about at that age, right? So when he was 13, he had a career fair, right? And so for the career fair, well, no, let me back up. Father's Day came second. Okay. Anyway, so career fair is first. So he's like, well, Dad, I think I want to be a sports agent. And he's like, no. He's like, no, I don't want to be a sports agent. I want to own a sports agency. I'm like, oh, okay. I like the way you're thinking. I was like, so how do you present that at the career fair? He was like, well, I asked my teacher if I can go last. I was like, why you want to go last? He said, because one of my friends wants to be a lawyer, and one of my friends wants to play in the NFL, and one wants to play in the NBA. He's like, so after they present, I'm going to have them come over to my table, and they're going to be my employees and my employees' clients.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, wow, he's really thinking like that. Like the things I'm saying to him, or the things I'm not even really enforcing it, but I'm being the example. I'm putting the right thing in front of him.
And that rubs off. Yep, for sure.
Yeah, and it rubs off on him. So now he's going to school for finance, you know. So maybe he may not want to do real estate, but guess what? The people that finance real estate deals make a whole lot of money too. The people that own hedge funds make a whole lot of money too. So,
Yeah.
it's that balance of I would love for him to do the exact same thing I'm doing, but if he wants to do something different and I can put him
That's
in a
cool.
position to be very
Yeah.
successful with it, yeah, I'm down with that too.
Yes. So with your
Yeah.
situation is very unique because I think you're a very good testament to some of the things,
Mm-hmm.
some of the thoughts that I have. What
Mm-hmm.
about some of our best and brightest? We don't
Mm-hmm.
like as a people, you know what I mean? And we don't
Uh-huh.
sometimes benefit from the best and the brightest. You know,
Mm-hmm.
like your son could eventually graduate. He's some of the best and brightest.
Mm-hmm.
Times that
Mm-hmm.
talent is never kind of back into the community or back into businesses from our community that could
Mm-hmm.
benefit from those.
Mm-hmm.
What is like, even
Mm-hmm.
yourself, like some of the things that you've done, or take Barack Obama. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know. I would probably say that,
Mm-hmm.
like one of the greatest minds, the African American, we probably just
Mm-hmm.
say that we probably a consensus. We would kind of agree on that.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Have we been able to really benefit from the talents that he has had? And I feel like generationally, that's kind of always it. Like if you look at a lot of the businesses
Mm-hmm.
that are employed in some of
Mm-hmm.
our communities, they're not really the best and brightest. You know what I mean? Like, when people sometimes talk about some of the businesses that we have, I think that a segment of, like they're run down, it's a stigma that they're run down or this, that, and the third. Now, some of that could be bootstrapping, but some of that is also the quality of the people running those businesses. So where sometimes I feel like
Mm-hmm.
the best and the brightest, the people that would shine the greatest light, we don't really even get to really see some of those because they are working in corporations to where this we don't really get the benefit as a culture from some of those things. So I asked you, what are your thoughts on that, and what is the responsibility, I guess, to where maybe we could change the narrative on some of that?
So, okay, so I got two answers for that. The first answer comes from the same author, Rich Dad Poor Dad. And one of my quotes that I love the most that he made, he said, most A and B students end up working for C students.
Correct.
And that because we are, once again, we are groomed to be corporate employees. So the best and brightest get all the good jobs.
Yeah.
So that's where all of our talent goes. Our talent goes to work in the corporations. And then the C students that cannot get jobs, who are used to, by the way, failing 20 to 30% of the time and still getting the same end result that you get, they're more comfortable going out and taking a risk and starting a business. And then what do? They go hire A and B students, right? So a lot of our talent gets caught in that cycle. The other part of that is, if you really look at the history of African Americans in the United States, before desegregation, what you're talking about did not exist. Because we had our own everything. Exactly. We had our own doctors. We had our own lawyers. We had great businesses. We had great tailors in the community. We had pilots. We had private airports and Black Wall Street, and we had the best and brightest all running businesses at that point in time. But during the civil rights movement, we got so caught up on making other people accept us and proving that we're equal that we forced ourselves into their communities and we abandoned a lot of our own. And so when you have a whole generation that's no longer entrepreneurs, that don't have that skill set to pass down to their kids, you got a whole bunch of employees that are, grooming their kids to be employees. And so the kids that want to be entrepreneurs don't know where to start, right?
Correct.
Or the other people that want to be entrepreneurs are the ones that are just too lazy to get a job. So you take a lazy person that doesn't want to have a job and they want to start a business just so they can say they work for themselves, the business quality is going to be poor. You know what I mean? So I think, and that's the cycle. So that's what we're experiencing a lot until, I feel like there's a renaissance now of people that are, So it's kind of you and me. I feel like our generation, we're back. You know what I mean?
I agree.
We're back. Yeah.
I agree.
So we just can't have that big gap again of letting that fall by the wayside. And what's funny is like especially in the United States, there's a lot of times when I meet Black people that are successful in business and they're young and they're like in their 20s or 30s, I'm like, oh, cool, African American like doing it. And I guarantee you, 80% of them, after I talk to them, I find out they're Nigerian or Jamaican.
Oh, wow.
But the difference is, it's like those cultures teach their kids to be business owners. Don't go work for somebody. Like the Nigerians and Jamaicans, they send their kids all over the world, where they go into Asia, to Japan, to China, to Europe or to America. They teach them, come here and start a business.
Wow.
Different mindset.
Correct. Man, that's powerful, man. So one of the things that you are doing, man, one of the biggest reasons why I wanted to have you on here, the biggest reason is that teenage, fatherhood thing. That ties in and connects with my audience on such a big level.
Wait, I didn't get my other story. I want to talk about the Father's Day story. Father's Day. So on Father's Day, when my son is 13, he makes this post, and he's like, "Happy Father's Day to my dad." And he's like, got a collage of all of our pictures from when he was a little kid. And the caption under the post, he wrote this himself. He was like, my dad is a prime example that you don't have to be an actor, rapper, or athlete to be successful in life.
That's awesome, man.
And I'm like, man, that is deep for him to catch that so early.
That is awesome, man. How old was he?
13.
Oh, man, that's crazy.
That's crazy, right?
That's crazy. That's dope, man.
And every year to this day, I repost that. Like that's my throwback Thursday for Father's Day week.
That's it, man. That's it. That's it. That's changing the narrative, as you like to say.
Yeah.
So one of the big things that you were kind of one of the big takeaways that I was just hearing is that this whole narrative of, and as I follow you on social media, this whole narrative of the devalue community, gentrification, those type of things. You've been a big advocate on, like you say, once everything starts looking good in the neighborhood, you miss the wave, correct?
It's too late. You missed the wave.
Yeah, you're too late. So what you have done, man, if guys don't know, my man pretty much put his money where his mouth is. So whatever the phrase is.
Yeah.
He has bought. He's went to the 5th Ward in Houston. Basically the hood, you don't have to be from Houston to understand what my man talking about it. It's pretty much the hood. It's but he's bought a plot of land there, and now he's rebuilding some different properties, trying to just be a symbol of what we see other cultures do. Many people from where we from New Orleans, like when they had Hurricane Trina, this was basically some of the most damaged places in New Orleans. Pretty much got washed away, and when it was time to rebuild, other monies came through. Were able to build those communities back up, and now basically where it used to be the hood is basically prime real estate. And, we're talking about hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars worth of real estate. Basically the same land, the same everything, the same community. Basically, if you walk into those communities, they don't look anything like they look
they did
20 years ago. So again, this man is, like you said, a Renaissance man, very, very innovative, powerful thoughts as far as where he thinks things could go. So he bought this plot of land and he's starting to rebuild these homes on it. What was that like? How did that even come to fruition? Like, I mean, I get it. We talk about it. It's barbershop talk. I'm a barber, so I hear these ideas all the time. How do we go from the thought to actually like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to show y'all what it could be, because that's the biggest thing. I think everybody knows what the problems are. I think everybody's very aware of where where things ain't going right, but there are very few action takers, people that are willing to put in the work to develop themselves in a way that they can actually to act on the things that they see that they want to cause a solution to. How did you even come to how did you get into the space of being able to do this, man? Like, was it, was it before you went out the train, or or you would totally have walked away from it when you started doing this?
Well, I think the frustration with the engineering job and starting to read books really opened my eyes to everything, right? It's like, it's like you can be trapped in the problem, or you can step outside and try to find a solution. Solution, yeah. So I made this shirt, but I got another shirt that I made that says, it has debater with a line across through it, it has historian with a line across through it, and it has problem solver at the bottom.
There you go.
Because a lot of people we get stuck in that bringing up history, what happened before, or we're debating on what could be done. Nobody's really taking action. Correct. And so like 2012, 2013, when I started flipping houses, I was making good money doing that. but it felt very selfish. People would ask me how to get in the game, and I'm like, well, it takes a lot of money, it's a lot of risk. You might not want to do this. I was like, so how can I take this skill set and how can I have a greater impact on the community? Well, gentrification just kept coming up in my head over and over and over, because it's like, we all talk about it, we all know that it exists, and we all watch it happen. And there's a lot of other minority flippers and investors that are just participating in making money, but not really trying to tackle that challenge. So I had the opportunity to somebody brought me the opportunity to buy a whole block of property. And it was in the hood, Fifth Ward, bloody nickel, full of drugs, full of prostitution. But it was right on Highway 59, which is a main artery of Houston. And it was 4 minutes from downtown. So I'm like, wait a minute. Eventually, this property is going to have some extreme value. I don't know how long it's going to take, but I need to figure out how to acquire this property. So ended up talking to the owner. He was the son of a Jewish investor that owned like 26 blocks in Fifth Ward. Once again, his dad came and bought up all that property after desegregation when all the black people moved out to go live in other neighborhoods. So he inherited it. He was like in his late 60s. He's on drugs. So I was able to negotiate a deal with him where I bought it from him, owner finance. So he didn't own anything on it. So I just gave him 10%. So I'm going to pay him almost $500,000 for it. I knew it wasn't really worth that, but I was like, I just got to get control of this property, So that's what I did. And I held it for 5 years, and I couldn't do anything with it. I didn't have the money to really fix it up nicely. So I did parolee housing, because people with felonies have a really hard time finding a place to live. So I basically took the college student model, where you rent out individual rooms. I was renting out individual rooms to felons, believe it or not. And they were like the best tenants ever, because they just didn't want to go back to prison. They had trades from prison. They were like carpenters, electricians, plumbers, so they didn't want no problems, and they were fixing stuff. They was like, bring materials, I'll fix it. So I didn't really know that I was going to get into development until 2016, when another builder, a builder who's also an architect and a professor at Prairie View, a Colombian guy, started building houses in Fifth Ward. And I was like, this guy is building, at that point he had built like 15 houses, and they all sold. And he didn't even have to list them on the web, on the internet. Like, he didn't put them on MLS or nothing. They were just selling for like $250. And I was like, man, there's value in the hood. Like, this is like a real, true testament. There's value in the hood. It's the same neighborhood. And his properties were deep in the neighborhood. So people were willing to buy a house and traverse the community to get to their house, and they weren't from the community. It was like, it was white people, it was Mexicans, it was Indians, but it's a predominantly black neighborhood. I was like, okay, so if they're cool with doing that, and my property is right here on the freeway, I should really be able to do something with this right now. Like, I was holding it. I didn't know how long it was going to take for the value to turn around. I thought maybe I'd just hold it until I could just sell the land to a developer later. I was like, wait a minute. I figured all this other stuff out. I figured out how to get out of corporate America. I figured out how to become an investor. I can figure out how to become a developer too.
Yeah.
So that's what I did, man. So I just spent time networking, finding people that were in the industry. And I finally found a builder who built for nonprofit organizations. He built like low-income housing type stuff, but he knew the development process, and he became my mentor. Okay. Well, I paid him as a consultant, and he became my mentor. And so, so it took me, it took us about 1.5 years to get the project where it is now. Now, he gave me all the tools, but he didn't give me the money. Like, I tried to get him to co-sign on a loan for me. I was like, you're gonna build it, so you can co-sign. It'll be good. He's like, nah, you got to figure it out on your own. So I was literally turned down by 23 banks because yes, they were like, okay, you flipped houses, but you never built a single house, and now you got a whole block of property that you're trying to tell us that you're gonna build 14 townhomes on, and they're like, you have no experience. How you gonna do that? Then they were like, well, you have not shown that you have managed this much money from a bank before, so we can't give you a loan. Yeah. And then they were like, well, the neighborhood you're building in the zip code, there's no new construction, so we have no way to value what you're building. It looks like it may be nice, but how do we know people are really going to buy for that price? So I had all of things working against me, man. So 23 different banks told me no, and I finally found a bank out of Austin, and they happened to be middle-aged white guys, but they were cool, and collectively they had flipped and built over 2,500 houses, and some of them were in neighborhoods like that were turning around. So they saw what I was trying to do. So they literally, I went from 23 banks telling me no to these guys giving me $500,000. They gave me $500,000 to build my first 3.
All you need is one yes.
All you need is one yes, man. All you need is one yes, bro. So yeah, so that got the ball rolling. That got the ball rolling, man. So yeah, that brought me to where I am, and I was able to not only do that, but educate people that look like me that are my age about why it's important to buy in gentrifying neighborhoods before it looks nice, because that's when all the value appreciation happens. So far, all of my buyers have been young people that look like me that usually wouldn't be in a position to win off of these type of opportunities, and take advantage of these type of opportunities. And so they are now, because that's what I'm using my social media platform for.
That's awesome, man. So how many of the 14 have you already built?
I've only built 3. Okay. I built 3, and I did that I did that purposely, because in order to get a solid appraisal on a property, you have to have 3 comparable sales, right?
Yeah.
And so once you get 3 comparable sales, it's a lot easier for appraisers to pull the value. Yeah. And since I had to go with those guys that gave me the $500,000, that money was very expensive. It was like 12% interest rate. It was like they charged me 3% of the whole loan just to give me the loan. I was like, I don't want to take more money from them than I need. I knew I needed 3, so that's all I did was 3. Okay. And so now. And
you were able to do the 3 with 5?
Yeah. They only cost.
I need to come to Texas, man. I got my one piece of little property about 500, man. Like, that's awesome.
Well, no. So don't think about retail costs. Think about actual construction costs.
I get it.
So
but still, man,
yeah. So I am selling them for $300 a piece, or $279 a piece. But when you build it yourself, the cost is a lot lower. So So I built those 3, got them all sold, and now I'm going back. Now, before the banks wouldn't give me any money, now I got a bank that's giving me $700,000 to build 4.
Yeah.
And they're only charging me 5.5% interest, but it's interest only.
Interest only.
I only have to pay the principal. Yeah, just the interest. Yeah, so it's a huge difference. It's a huge difference. But just imagine how many people would have quit after being told no 10 times from 10 different banks or 5 banks.
Most people, and rightfully so.
Right, yeah.
Rightfully so, man. You can't even be mad at nobody. 23 times. Maybe it ain't in your cards, bro.
Yeah, right.
I don't want this for you, dog.
Right.
23 times, nah, man. Let's go do something else. Yeah, man. I can't even be mad at nobody for that.
Yeah.
But that's awesome, man. So we come to this. That's one project you have going on, and the big one that I've seen is something about crowdfunding now.
Yeah. So this is my new baby. So on the opposite side of the gentrification conversation is always when people come in and they make a community new, the people that are there get displaced, right? Or the people there, when they start building these expensive houses, the property taxes go up so much that the people there can't afford it. Or investors come in and buy up the neighborhoods and they increase the rent so much that the people can't afford it. So I'm like, well, there's a solution to that too, right? And it's just like, it has to be implemented. So this next project that I'm working on now, one of my students who I've been teaching how to go out and find real estate deals, they're basically called wholesalers. They go out and they find either distressed sellers or tired landlords or out-of-state property owners that have property that they maybe want to sell. So I met with them, and he brought me a deal where it's literally 18 properties. So it's 18 houses, all rented by seniors, and 2 commercial buildings in the front that has a restaurant area or something else. So it's bringing in bringing like $13,000 a month in cash flow as is. And the owners are just the older Black couple, but they're just ready to retire, right? Okay. And so he was like, Chris, can you help me find an investor to buy this? And as I'm looking at it, I'm like, man, this is a great deal. I think I want to keep this one. Yeah. So that's what I did. So I kept it, and I've always had this feeling that I wanted to do something where everybody could invest, because it's like most investments, you got to have a lot of money, right?
Yes.
At least $10,000. But there's so many people that live paycheck to paycheck that they will never be able to get into the game. So this was an opportunity for me to say, you know, Barack Obama, you just talked about Barack, when he was in office, he created this new tier of crowdfunding that was unavailable before. Usually, to be a part of an investment group or a crowdfund, you had to be an accredited investor, which means you're worth $1 million. Yeah, you're worth $1 million. You got $250,000 in the bank, and then you can invest in these deals. Well, he made this new tier where anybody can invest up to $10,000. So I was like, this is the perfect opportunity for me to take some people that would not otherwise have this opportunity and allow them to be able to participate in investing in something big.
Wow. And there's that 10,000 per project, like per, you know, the crowdfund investment. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's kind of like it's like a 401k or IRA. Like that's your limit per year, no matter how many of them are available. You know, you can only invest 10,000 total in anything you invest in.
That's dope.
Yeah. So yeah, it's pretty cool. So and I'm letting people get in with as little as $250.
That's crazy, man. So what has been the response thus far? I mean, it was crazy because man, I watch you know, Grant Cardone's one of my guys.
Yeah.
Man. He's from Lake Charles too. So
Grant from Lake Charles?
He's from Lake Charles, man. He went to LaGrange. Look him up a little bit, man. It's a lot of energy there, bro. He's from Lake Charles, man. Yeah. So but anyhow, I was looking at him, man, and I'm like, bruh.
Blew my mind, bro. You just blew my mind, bro.
I'm like, yeah. I'm looking at this dude. I'm like, bro, like he's basically doing the same thing that you're doing. And and just God kind of laid it on me, and I was just like, man, let me see what Chris doing. Like, let me see what he's doing. So that's when I typed you that message that day. I was like, man, have you ever thought about opening these investments up for other people? And he was like, Sean, like, I think this was like maybe a month ago. He was like, Sean, I'm working on something. You know, I can't really be specific about it, but yes. And then, you know, and then to just kind of see you launching this and for it to take shape and where your heart is, man. Like it's one thing to be, you know, successful in business. It's one thing to be a money guy. It's one thing to, you know, but it's a whole nother thing to want to leave a legacy, not just help itself, but push the culture forward. And like you always say, change the narrative, man. Like what is this Fatherhood Friday, man, why it's so important and so impactful is because, man, I don't know many deadbeat dads. I don't know that many, right? But the narrative at this point is, because we don't control the narrative, everybody's a deadbeat dad. Oh, but when we have Father's Day, you know, like, you know, people are being mean and spiteful, and it's a whole different energy than Mama's Day. Right, it's a whole different energy. So I was like, man, like, I can sit back on the fence, not say nothing, not do nothing, or I could really get out there and really, you know, let people know that, man, there are a lot of good fathers, there are a lot of good guys that are doing their thing and taking care of their kids. Like it's not, it's not something that's not typical. Like, and I want a platform to show my guys because I can't speak for the rest of the world, but I know a lot of great fathers. So like, I love when you talked about changing the narrative because it is so important. Like I just told you, like that father, that maybe 60 years ago, that, you know, that was the case. Maybe 30 years ago, that was the case. But this generation, man, like even statistically, they're taking care and more involved in their children's lives than just as much as moms are. You know what I mean? But if you let people continue that narrative, that will continue to be the thing from generation to generation. So I love the fact that you have seen a gap. You see things that are not right or things that you don't agree about. You're not complaining about it. You are doing very innovative things, man. And it's so important that like you understand where people are at. You know what I mean? And making it accessible. You didn't have to open it up and say, oh man, these shares are going to be worth $250, man. Like people don't do that, Chris. I'm just keeping it real. Like, most people that are being a businessman, I can't knock them for practicing good business. But I also, man, I got to applaud a brother like you that sees that, like, man, like, I'll put that burden on my shoulders. I'll carry that weight, and I'll make it accessible. And what I'm loving about it is, as we knock down these doors, bro, it ain't gonna be no more excuses. You know what I mean? Like, hey, let me share the link. Oh, if my credit was good, I would get involved in the real estate. If you know, if my mama passed me down some money, like, no, bro, you got $250. It's the same amount of money you would spend getting some Yeezys or something. Like, go spend that on getting some shares of a really good investment that's already performing well in the market. You know, and let some people really put you on the game and become a part of something, man. Like, as we change and there, you knock down all these excuses for folks. And I love it. I love it, because then it just becomes, do you want it or do you not?
Exactly.
Do you want it or do you not, man? So it's a beautiful thing, man. How can people get involved with, you know, potentially finding more information? I want them to be aware about it. I was, Sean, you sent me to your boy. I bought this. No, that ain't what it is. How can they find information about the property, about yourself, and the whole process? Because this is new. You know, when you say crowdfunding, I'm sure somebody's saying, what is that? Like, we don't have time to talk about the scope of what crowdfunding is, but how can they become informed investors?
Okay. So number one, the easiest way to get in contact with me to find out information about what I'm doing is go to my website, which is just my name. It's chrissenegal.com. CHRISSENEGAL, just like the country in Africa. chrissenegal.com. There's links to my social media there. I have a couple of videos on that website that talk about my approach to real estate and the gentrification stuff. But you can go to my Instagram and just scroll. And my Instagram, that's my sole purpose. It's real estate education, it's entrepreneurship education. And there's a lot of free game on there. You can learn a lot from just looking at the website. You can also go on my bio. In my bio link, I have a bunch of suggested reads where you can get good books that'll get your mind right. And also in the bio is the link to the project. In that project link, there's a video that walks you through the project, and there's a very detailed explanation in very much layman's terms of what the project is, what the investment is, and what the returns are, and what the mission of the project is. And I specifically had people that had nothing to do with real estate read it, and I wanted to make sure that they really understood what it was. And so it's very layman's terms. It's very plain English. It's not real estate lingo. It's not investment lingo. It explains to you what you're getting into.
All right. So what's your social media handle?
So the social media handle, Instagram is _INVESTR. So it's investor. You remove all the vowels except the I. _investor with just the I.
Got it.
And that's the easiest way to get in contact with me. That's it, man. But you asked about how well it's doing. Today is day one. I think we've raised almost $40,000 already.
Oh!
Yeah, man. And I've had people commenting. A dad actually commented and said, instead of buying my kids Christmas gifts, I'm buying them shares of this. That's powerful. That's powerful.
That's super powerful, man. I'm so proud of you, man. Before we get off here, man, why is fatherhood so important, man? In your own words, man. Like, I like to ask my guests that to wrap up these interviews.
The father plays an instrumental role in the child's life as a male or female. You show them what it is to be the leader, what it is to be responsible, and you show them basically the masculine side of life. All right. So it's good to have a mom there, a nurturer, but you need somebody that's there that can take the part of life that requires somebody to be stern and to be steadfast in position. That's what a father is there for. And a lot of people don't have that. Yeah. So
I love it, brother. Anything else you want to tell my viewers before we hop off this interview, man?
Man, share this interview. Tag, share, give it to everybody. Spread the good word.
That's it, man. I appreciate you, man. Yeah. I'm super proud of the work that you're doing, man. Keep doing what you're doing, and continue to just build out, man. It looks like God has put a lot in your heart, a lot in your mind, man. Too much is given, much is required, and you're doing what's required, bro. I'm super proud of you, man. So take care, man.
Brother. Likewise, man. Yeah, there we go. Lake Charles finest.
There you go.